I wanted to be able to go very quickly into some of the top traded stocks that we've looked at. Many of you guys have been trading, and just to be able to give you a sense of how to apply what I just talked about into many of these particular stocks. Let's just begin. So let's begin with SPNEC. I currently have a thumbs up on his, and if it just looks remotely positive, then I will just put a thumbs up as a particular potential. And the reason is this is an IPO that did really well. It managed so far to contain its correction because it didn't go all the way back down to where it had come from. Then it gapped up. And of course, it paused because it was a sign of previous highs here. And this might, need to consolidate a little bit more. But it is showing me that the market seems to be quite fond of this stock and is still holding their positions rather well. So I would keep a nice and curious eye on this for a potential move upwards here. And of course, since we've seen this low, this could be an area that would be nice to be able to place a stop position at. MONDE. Now, admittedly, when I started this particular year, I put a green thumbs up on MONDE, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to turn that down now because one of the reasons that I was looking for a thumbs up was a potential inclusion of this into the index, which actually happened, and we did see some advances coming in for a while, but it quickly fell back down quite sharply and is now actually cracking the previous low, which I did not want to see. So effectively, if I were to draw lines over here, a breakdown condition had already taken place in MONDE, and that I saw a similar movement take place in Manila Water. And when you see breakdowns of this magnitude, this is something that you have to move back into defensive stand because potentially we could still see more downside action here. So please be careful here. Ditto, as I explained earlier on, I put it at the thumbs back down because as you saw, I did draw a trend line here, which it broke. So that means more consolidation time for this stock. Indications on momentum must also become a little bit worse from its rally. And that means this might take some time before it punches out of this particular consolidation. So for now, I would park myself away from this. Or if you have something, please don't add anymore. Wait for things to improve for this. Now, Jollibee, I still like. I put a green thumbs up for it. It had managed to be able to climb near the previous high and managed to be able to bank off a little bit. This was one of those reopening plays that we were talking about. It's managed to pull back to the moving averages. Remember, these are the things we want to look at as a pullback. And when we say a pullback, we're looking for an opportunity to buy this in such pullbacks, either maybe where the red line is or hopefully maybe in the blue lines, we can get a bit more squeeze off the price before attempting to be able to move back again. So look at this with good potential. Ayala Land also has done well recently. I think generally a lot of the property stocks, not all of them, but some of them, managed to be able to generate new recent highs, like punching off from this one. And just like this punch up you see here and the winding that it had to generate, perhaps Ayala Land might need to do the same, maybe on a shorter term basis. But nevertheless, I think there should be an opportunity to look for potential buys as it makes a pullback towards your maybe 36.90 to maybe about 36.25 as potential areas of support. So keep this in hand as a potential. ACEN, I talked about earlier. I think over here, you can clearly see the negative trend we are currently seeing. You can see the presence above all the moving averages telling you you're still very much into a downtrend. And so what do we need to see in order for this to tip us off that a recovery is taking place? So first, we need this to punch over the short-term averages. That's this orange one and the red one. If it fails to go over this, these two over here, that would just be very temporary and you'll see prices attempt to come back down again. So like I said, it takes time to reverse these things and you need this to push over here to tell us, okay, something's going on. And when it pulls back from there, you might look for potential buys into ACEN there. As of right now, not quite yet. Globe Telecom, similar to ACEN, you have a nice declining situation, also below its moving averages. However, I do see signs that some of the selling seems to be drying up, and that tells me that perhaps maybe a little bit more push down, but this could be around the corner for a potential short-term rebound. When I say a short-term rebound, that doesn't mean a reversal. It just means that it might just try to rally for a while and then generate another reaction. And then into that reaction, if it makes a higher low than whatever it makes over here, then we will look back into a potential reversal scenario for Globe. So right now, not quite yet. Then we have Figaro. So Figaro was also in some top traded issues because it was relatively a new IPO. And generally IPOs go through a phase just like this. So sometimes they open relatively strong and then they have to go through a consolidating phase. The reason they have to do that is because there has been no groups of people who've been able to accumulate a lot of shares at a very heavy way. And because of that lack of accumulation, you cannot tighten the supply very much. And that's the reason now, especially now, after you see prices are actually trading lower than we saw during the first IPO days, there is pressure for some people who are taking a little bit of loss to cut on those losses. And it's a reason why you're seeing a little bit more of an extended pullback into the price work itself out. So again, no reversal still from here. If you were to draw a trend line, it's still pointing downwards. It's also below its moving average. So allow this to drift a bit more. It needs to consolidate and generate more demand for it before it can start moving up. So I still put a red thumbs down on it for now. Now, Bloomberry is done actually quite well. In case some of you don't know, they were removed from our index, and there's a reason why it was being unduly pressured down. After the announcements, though, and we probably already see that people factored it into the equation, then we saw a nice rally come back in Bloomberry. But it has hit close to the previous high you had here in November, and that might create some resistance. So do expect a bit of a pattern or a pullback back down maybe to these moving averages. And again, they just put our plan in place, a recovery trend. We wait for pullbacks back here, especially if prices are elevated from such moving averages. And we wait until we can see a potential turnaround situation for it or buying it closer to support. I have a thumbs up for Bloomberry. Now, PLDT, I was a bit worried about this a couple of days ago, especially when I saw this, and I did air it out into my spotlight. But fortunately, the day after, the company started to be able to tell us that they were going to do a lot of streamlining effects into their operations, even managed to be able to sell a bit of their cell towers to try to raise some cash. And I guess investors like the fact that they looked like they were going to be trimming a lot of the fat off the particular company, and this actually managed to be able to keep itself afloat and prevent it from breaking down. So, so far so good, but I think this will probably try to, I don't know if it can extend its rally a little bit more, but maybe not above the previous high. I think you'll probably see a consolidation come out after this rally and continue on with that. So I will be a little neutral to a little positive with this, and it's the reason why, like I said, a little optimistic, I will only give it a green thumbs up. BDO, I still like. A nice uptrend line over here is still holding. It's now in its corrective mode. I hope this correction will be finishing soon. I was looking at the banking property issues at first when I met you last, and I was saying that these two seem to be the strongest. And so what we want to do is just look for a better price, which is what it's attempting to be able to give us. Hopefully it can try to stand above the 100-day moving average, which is currently closer to about 128. Now, if this breaks, it might slide all the way back down here, but I don't think if we can still manage to stand above this, I think the recovery can still come, but it might just take longer for it to climb back up to the 140 or higher. So it'll be preferred if we see it manage to be able to hold above the 128 zone. I still like BDO, so I'll keep it on the greens. Converge. All right. So again, this just like Manila Water and MONDE, these are issues that I started off looking good because there was nice consolidations for potential breakout, but unfortunately it went opposite direction. And so the breakout conditions, I will have to reverse my cast on Converge and put a down thumbs on it because I can see that the downtrend is maintaining itself. It's slowing down, and I hope it manages to slow. My downside target here was closer to about 24 or 23, but we're not too far off from that anymore. So I hope that it can level off somewhere in that area. But again, please wait for a reversal. It's still standing below all the moving averages, and that, as I said earlier, means stay away. Then we have SM Prime, and just like Ayala Land, it did show a nice favorable trend after it was climbing over its moving averages, but it's lost momentum. And stocks that lose momentum may need to consolidate or correct a little bit more. I don't mean go all the way back down here, but it could probably just try to go back closer to maybe 37.50, maybe even 36.70. That might be better areas, or all the way up to even maybe 35.70, and these might be better areas to be able to pick up this stock. If you have it, you can hold it. Just don't be aggressive and add more. Wait for the corrections to be able to give you a better entry spot. I also have a thumbs up on SM Prime. Then, of course, we've had where a lot of the action has been Semirara and its counterpart, DMC. They kind of look similar. Why is this climbing so strongly? Particularly two reasons, because this is a coal extracting company, and coal prices are going through the roof because oil prices are going through the roof. And this is just trying to reflect the bullish situation of that particular company's potential earnings from the windfall that it's going to make. And hopefully a nice dividend that should be coming around. Hopefully, last time they did it last year, I think was sometime in April. So let's see if they can come to generate something that could be quite handsome from Semirara and DMC as well. As an entry point, this looks a bit iffy. And the reason is because this is where prices are right now, and your support based on the short-term moving average is back at 27.58. So you kind of have some big downside. And I cannot tell you it's not going to go down there, because if you look back here, it did it. It went back down to that before it leveled off. So just be a little careful. We did hit some overbought levels, but momentum is still very much there. So potentially you could do it. I think I would gradually lighten up in this particular phase. Maybe all the way towards their dividend. If they give a nice one, you might have an opportunity to sell right after that. NIKL Asia, another issue, another mineral, and the reason for this is really because during war times, metal prices normally are very strong, especially industrial metals. And the reason is because many times these metals are used to produce items that will fund the war front or whatever industries that have to ramp up. So just like Semirara, though, we are coming off at a point where we're getting quite overbought, and that's very clear with an almost 80% RSI. That's usually quite heavy. And we are kind of stretched, quite outstretched already to where support is. So if you have it, you can go ahead and hold it. Maybe what you want to do is you want to maybe raise your stop to the last 2 or 3 day low, just so you can protect a little bit of profit. Or if you want, maybe just lighten a little bit so that just in case it corrects it, maybe you can buy that back on the first instance that it hits support. But I also have a green thumbs up so far because the trend is still up for nickel. So there you have it. And to be able to give you a rundown on the issues that I like, that put a green thumbs and a down thumbs on it, you have SPNEC, Jollibee, Ayala, and Bloomberry, PLDT, BDOs, SM Prime, Semirara, NIKL Asia. And of course, on the downside, we've got MONDE, Ditto, ACEN, Globe, Figaro, and we have Converge. So until next time, we will try to be able to give you a better view of what things are going on. But if anything out of the ordinary happens again in markets, perhaps we can do this again to give you necessary updates to what's happening with the market. So with that, I'll wrap up my top traded stocks that you guys review of the top traded stocks that you traded.